Spring practice all concluded, wrapped up in Tallahassee, Florida State football. We get our talk from Logan Robinson from Knoll Game Day, and we want to get you set for all the positions across the board, offense and defense, before fall camp. Logan, how are we doing today?
Doing fantastic, Mark. Got to see some football in person inside Doak Campbell Stadium, and you know what? Quarterbacks looked pretty nice. We actually might have a competition. Some young wide receivers showed out, which we're about to talk about here in a second. A lot to kind of be happy about. There's still some things maybe concerned, but overall, it was nice being back inside Doak Campbell for an actual football game. Fans in the stands, beer everywhere, regular Tallahassee. It was a good time.
Nice. You know, I was looking at this wide receiver position, and when you think about it, a lot has changed in a year. When we were sitting here this time last year going into the 2020 season, we were thinking Tamorrion Terry's primed to have just an outstanding season, be an all-ACC performer. He catches 23 passes. He's gone after 5 games. He's out of here. Guys like Isaiah Bolden and DJ Matthews transferred out. DJ Matthews looked like he was going to have a nice career at Florida State. He took off, and it was really between the quarterback position, the offensive line, and the wide receiver position, a situation where I'm looking at these numbers. They went from 65% completion percentage the year before just to 53%. Their yards per game went down like 90 yards in the air from season to season. So just not the type of passing game you need out of Florida State.
It was extremely disappointing. That whole unit really was, I wouldn't say, won't be so harsh and say underachieved, but it was a disappointment. The production was weak. It kind of goes with not having a solid foundation at quarterback there. You know, Jordan Travis was the third option at quarterback. Tate Rodemaker ended up being the second string, not even Chubba Purdy. And as we know, of course, James Blackman was a starter last year. So I think the quarterback situation affected this unit quite a bit. The offense was more surrounded about Jordan Travis getting out of the pocket and, you know, maybe not relying so much on an offensive line or not relying on his reads as much and getting to his wide receivers. So I think that dwindled down a little bit. And there was also some mistakes by the wide receivers and having drops and wide open touchdowns there that didn't result in 6 points. So I think that unit right now is trying to hit a whole 180, and this has been a focus for Dillingham and also, of course, Mike Norvell. You know, this offense is here for playmakers, and they're trying to get more surrounding the quarterback, even at the running back unit, but most certainly the wide receiver unit. They want to have playmakers that can be explosive out of nowhere. Mike Norvell likes to run a very fast paced offense. We saw it moving really quickly during the spring game, but he loves running a quick offense, and this is where these offensive players and the wide receivers can really get a knife on you real quick and score 6 points. But last year it was extremely disappointing, and Tamorrion Terry was not healthy throughout it all. It was just overall a nasty year for them in that unit.
Talking Florida State football, we got Logan Robinson on here from Knoll Game Day. You can catch him also on his podcast, Hear the Spear. And, of course, every Wednesday night here at the Voice of College Football, we're talking to Florida State football live at 6 p.m. Eastern time. That spring game, it was pretty impressive to see guys like Malik McLean break out. He had some nice plays downfield. Brian Robinson did as well. And as we talked about before we started to record, some of the veteran guys, the productive guys in other programs, they still have yet to show up, like Andrew Parchment out of Kansas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the funny thing. So going back to the spring game, now that we get to note on it, we get to cheat a little bit. But the two freshmen with Burrell and McLean, they had a day. And this is something that didn't really surprise us, at least a few of us that got to go to those two scrimmages a few weeks ago. Malik McLean, at least him specifically, was in a majority of the snaps. We're talking about 95% of the snaps during the whole scrimmages, both 1 and 2, which is extremely impressive for a true freshman coming in. There was some things going on where he arrived before the spring started and during tour of duty, and a lot of people were maybe thinking inside the program if he was fully set and ready to go and get out there on the field. And he proved everybody kind of wrong there and has shown out since. And I think Mike Norvell is very happy to have McLean and sticking with the Noles too during his late recruitment. And then Burrell, who looks like a young Anquan Bolden. I'm not just going to say that on the field it's going to be that way, but at least for his physical stature, you can't say that doesn't look like a young Anquan Bolden. The cat is lifting a ridiculous amount. He looks in fantastic shape. And not only, you like to see those things going on during the off season and while they're lifting and such and look that way, but to play the part whenever you're out on the field is something different that you really get to see from true freshmen. We haven't seen it in a little while. And for it to be two true freshmen that had an outstanding day is something to be happy about. Florida State fans need to be happy about it. Definitely after just about 4 months ago, I think a lot of Florida State fans thought this unit was just done, obliterated. Might as well just get running backs and tight ends as your weapons. But this wide receiver room is, I think, one of the most exciting parts heading into fall camp that we'll be talking about the next couple of months.
And maybe the most talented guy still in New Orleans, Destin Hill. So, man, everybody's excited about him.
Yeah, I can't stop us. I think I just instantly smile when we talk about Destin Hill because we haven't seen him. We're not going to see him until he enrolls here in Florida State or later in the summer. And that dude is ridiculous. I not only just, I'll say it, but Carlos is on our pod too, and he's watched film too. And, it's just kind of unfair. And Florida State was really lucky to keep him on board and have Florida State be his school to go to and through his college career. But that kid is very special. And I think both Burrell, we were talking about it before recording, Mark, but I think Burrell and McLean, know those guys are on behind them on their tail about to come in and enroll. And they wanted to impress really early, and you've got to be proud of them. I know Mike Norvell and Kenny Dillingham and Ron Dugans are very proud of McLean and Burrell performing how they did this spring, because Destin Hill, you've also got Andrew Parchment coming in too, probably two potential, at least one, I think, solidified starter, and then Destin Hill is going to jump in there and get a lot of playing time too this upcoming season. You can't keep him off the field. Overall, I mean, this wide receiver unit has gone from Dookie last year to maybe not so Dookie. It's gonna be actually really fun to watch these youngins. And like we said, we were talking about it too, Mark. Milton and Jordan Travis had a solid day during that spring game. We saw some progression from Jordan Travis in the pocket and throwing the ball and had some nice touch, and then along with also Milton, who had an outstanding day. So the wide receiver room should be happy with what they got there behind the helm at quarterback.
So when you look at these guys and what you know from Destin Hill, obviously just watching that on tape, it's one thing to stack talent. All the big programs stack talent at all the positions, but it's another thing, let's say a wide receiver, to have a variety of guys that can do different things. So you can put them in different places, like your slot guys, your wide guys, the guys that are going to high point the football and out physical guys downfield, the guy that's going to get you your 3rd and 5, your Hunter Renfrow type. Do you see it when you look at body types, when you look at speed levels, when you look at ability just to freaking catch the ball? Do you see, where they could be a complementary unit together?
There's still, we talked about a few of these guys, mainly the younger ones, but there's still, you have veterans here like Keyshawn Helton, who usually is a target that you can be your one first down, second down kind of guy. You can usually count on him, even in big time catches and big time games. He's done this before, but sadly there was a little bit more of an inconsistency, but he has that potential there. I just don't know how much we'll see of him with all this younger talent coming through in this wave that we have. And you also have Ontario Wilson, Jordan Young, who the nickname for him is Abusement Park, but we're ready for the Abusement Park to open up. It's not been seen for a little while. I did like his first scrimmage that he had that we got to see in person. I got to see him being a vocal leader, which is something that I thought was interesting for him because he's more of a quiet guy, but seeing him being vocal, talking to the offense, talking to the wide receiver unit whenever they came off the field after a big play or after their touchdown drive, and talking them up and dapping them up, I thought was pretty interesting. So I think Jordan Young is really a guy that has a potential to really get a lot of playing time this upcoming season. And then one more that comes out to me. There's three more left, but really Brian Robinson, another guy that didn't get to see much of last year, was actually got to have some playing time later on in the season, but in the spring game had a nice catch from Mackenzie Milton for a touchdown in the corner there. Didn't get to see him really that much at all during the two scrimmages. He was playing, yes, but didn't have a lot of targets thrown his way. That was the same way during the last season too, near the end of it. Brian Robinson, I think, is someone that has the physical attributes. I'd like to see him, step up and he's got all the potential in the world. It's just gotta give him some chances here.
The nice thing about watching that play that he hooked up with Mackenzie Milton is there had to be some chemistry on that play. There was a lot of timing there because the ball was thrown to the pylon. He was running it inside and cut, and it was to his back shoulder, and the timing was perfect on that play. It was really well thrown and really just the placement, but he had to be ready for it to be on his back shoulder.
Yeah, that was something as a young wide receiver you love to see. He's watching his film, he's having good time, or he's putting in work after practices with Milton and Jordan Travis and whoever else, on understanding maybe where this quarterback likes to lay the ball in case you got a tight coverage on a DB. You like seeing that from a younger wide receiver. He's still a youngin, and just continuing to build chemistry with these quarterbacks, I think, is going to be key. And we still got to go back and think Jordan Travis also didn't have a spring last year. There wasn't a lot of building time, building chemistry with these wide receivers, these tight ends, these running backs either. So this is really a growing unit overall between these two, the wide receivers and the quarterbacks. These guys are going to start learning more. And like I said, that ball used to be 4 yards short, at least when we were at the spring scrimmages, from Milton to a Brian Robinson. During the spring game, it worked out perfectly, only where Brian Robinson could get it. He made a good play on the ball, and Milton threw a great ball into where he could get it. So I think really the chemistry building between these two units is going to be key for the next couple of months and into the fall camp. It's going to help a lot.
Logan Robinson's on the line here talking Florida State football with us several times a week. We got him every Wednesday night at 6 o'clock Eastern time. So please join us for our Florida State live show. And you can catch Logan on Knoll Game Day and on Hear the Spear, his podcast. And when you mention Ontario Wilson, he led the team in receptions with 30 last year. And what's funny is you just mentioned him at this point, and this could be the indication that the wide receiver position's just been upgraded significantly, is that he leads the team in receptions at wide receiver. Maybe a year later, he's got to bust his tail to get reps.
Yeah, that is exactly the case, because there's too many youngins coming in. There's transfer. Got Andrew Parchment coming in. He's going to have to chase to get that second consecutive year in a row and leading the team in receptions, because right now I don't predict that on happening. I really don't. There's just a different wave coming through. I think Terry Wilson is skilled. He had a great spring, couple scrimmages when we were there to watch him. Caught some really great balls, and I think he is going to be utilized a ton. But right now, I wouldn't be betting on him being the leading receiver next season. It's going to be a fun unit to watch heading into the camp.
Good stuff from Logan Robinson. Again, I Hear the Spears podcast, and also you got to catch him right here on YouTube on Knoll Game Day and KnollGameDay.com as well. Logan, we always appreciate it.
Thank you as always, Mark. Thank you.